What's up, everybody? Coach Ceelo here, and we are now in podcast episode 25. Wow. I say that every time, but I can't believe we've done so many and in such a short period of time. Anyway, I'm really glad to be here with you guys. As you know, we're starting to wrap up what I've been calling the woo-woo series of sales, where we've been doing combinations of different things that have to do with, the woo-woo, right? Kind of like that borderline between spirituality, but also psychology, and I kind of mix them both together. But today we're going to be talking about being lucky, having luck on your side. Yes, absolutely. It is important to have the skill. It is important to be good at what you do, but a little luck can go a long way as well, right? So first, let's recap. Let's recap on the woo-woo mini-series and everything that we've done before. We started on the power of belief, and that was the base, because without belief, you don't have anything. Then we talked about being in the zone. We talked about what happens when you aren't in the zone. We talked about attracting what you are. You attract what you are, not what you want, right? We talked about becoming the person you want to be first. In other words, identity. Be, do, have. Be the person, so you do the things, and then you end up having the things. Then we got into the dark side of sales and negativity and evil eye and haters. And so today, and I gave a few quick ways of resolving those issues, right? But so today we're going to talk about luck, and no talk in sales about luck would be complete if we didn't start talking about the wheel. Now, depending on the industry you're from, you may not use the term the wheel. Some will talk about being up or having ups, or it depends. If you're a hunter and you're out there finding your own leads and doing your own thing, then that's still, you're kind of creating your own wheel and your own ups. But you still have this idea of luck as in being, who you got in front of that day, or how the circumstances around you led to meeting the person that you prospected or whatever. But the majority of the industries that I work with and that I've been in, be it timeshare, I've got a lot of people following me now that are in the car sales industry. I'm not in the car sales industry, but I'm familiar with it. And also, even like high ticket sales, where the setters are setting the appointments for you, and then you're receiving these appointments on your calendars. It's going on. There's still a little bit of luck involved in that. Meaning, luck is when opportunity and preparation meet, right? So if you got the right person in front of you, but you're not in the right mindset, you don't have your skill ready, it doesn't matter. It could seem like you're unlucky, but actually you have everything going your way except yourself. Or it could be the other way around. You could be in the greatest mindset in the world and have everything set, and who you have in front of you is a dud. And sometimes you can turn a dud into a stud, but sometimes a dud is a dud. And that's why closing ratios are so important, right? Being able to know your closing ratio, being able to know that no matter what, if you're closing 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, whatever, during the course of my life, I've actually met people that close almost a perfect 10 out of 10. It's crazy, but that's some Mensa level intelligence and skill and luck. It's like they're maxed out on everything, right? But regardless, you don't need 10 out of 10 to make 6 figures. And depending the industry, you might only need a 3 out of 10 to make 6 figures, right? But when you have preparation and opportunity line up, that's when people start saying that you're lucky. Oh, that guy's lucky. He always gets the good leads. Oh, no, that person's busted their ass. They've gotten very good at what they do. And so the likelihood of whoever they get in front of them closing is very, very high. Now, are they going to close them all? Like I said, rarely. All right. I've maybe met 1 or 2 people in my life that are that of high of a close ratio, but still, they're closing much more than anybody else, so it gives the perception of luck. But guess what? If you're on the top of the wheel, now back to what we were saying, I made my way back, right? So in my business, when you're talking about the sales wheel is, when it's your turn to get the next person that's coming in through the door or the appointment or however you want to see it, right? And so everything is based on your numbers, and whether they base them on weekly numbers, daily numbers, monthly numbers, yearly numbers. The good companies, they combine a little bit of everything so that if you just got a sale yesterday, you're going to be bumped up in the line or on the wheel so that tomorrow you're going to be one of the first that's going to go out and receive, the next customer or the next client. But at the same time, after that, you're still going to fall in place on what these other metrics are. So the good ones, they kind of mix them up. They'll have maybe like a yearly, a quarterly, and a weekly one, right? So you got yearly, quarterly, and weekly, and you can have different percentages. So in sales, you make the rules and you give the benefits and the repercussions based on the attitudes and behaviors that you want to reinforce, right? So bottom line is, you want to gift, or you want to acknowledge those that are consistent and that are consistently doing very, very well. But if somebody's on a hot streak, you also want to recognize them, because that could make them also fall into the line. The whole point is to create a team of beasts, and that's how you do it. So reason why I'm talking all of this, or talking about all of this, is because what others may consider lucky could just be somebody who's at the top of the wheel. And because you're at the top of the wheel, you're getting more reps, you're getting more ups, you're getting more presentations, which means you're getting more chances than the average person in taking presentations. And because you have a high close ratio, then naturally you're going to get more. So now it becomes self-fulfilling, right? And that's considered luck. Again, remember what I said, opportunity and preparation meet, and that's where it all goes together. But anyway, let's talk about the woo-woo. And the woo-woo behind this is that, sometimes you can get lucky with who you got in front of you. Maybe you got a lay down. Now, I really don't feel lay down exists. I mean, you could get one once in a blue moon, right? But you create the lay down by how you treat the person, by your sales process, by your ability to do rapport, by all of that. But sometimes you could get lucky. You could be having a bad month, and all of a sudden you got one or two lay downs in a row, and it all squared itself away. Now, did you still need the skill to make the sale? Yeah, of course. But luck does play a part of it. And they kind of balance each other, Because if for whatever reason you're on the wrong side of the wheel and you've gotten an extraordinarily larger number of not so great tours versus greater tours, well, if you've got a good skill, you could turn some of those that weren't so great into better tours, and you'll still get some sales. So it kind of balances itself out in a way. But salespeople are real funny when it comes to the sales wheel, or when it comes to being in these lines. I've seen people where they were supposed to get a tour and then they didn't. It was given to somebody else. For whatever reason, they followed the rules. It ended up being somebody else's. And now that person is totally focused on whether that couple or that person that's having that presentation with one of your coworkers, whether they get the sale or not. And they're kind of being a hater, because they're kind of hoping that that person doesn't get the sale, because if they do, that means that would have been my sale. That was supposed to be mine. And so if they get a sale, that means that would have been my sale, and now I lost on a sale. By the way, you're a hater if you're like that. I want you to understand. You may have started with not bad intentions, but you're hoping that somebody else doesn't put food on their table today. You're a hater if you do that. Understand that as long as you have that weakness mentality, that scarcity mindset, that is going to attract more of that same negativity that we've been talking about. Whether you want to look at that from a spiritual aspect, because if you're hating on people, that's evil eye, that's hoping things don't go their way, you're throwing negativity out there. Well, guess what happens? You attract what you are. What are you at that moment? Negativity. Well, what do you think that's going to bring in? Negativity. Now, you turn that around, and for whatever reason, you thought that you were supposed to get this tour or this up or this guest or whatever, and it goes to somebody else. Okay, maybe it took you a second or two to get over it, right? But get over it. Your coworker is trying to put bread on the table. You should wish them well. You should want them to put bread on the table, because them making money has absolutely nothing to do with you making money. As a matter of fact, the more that your teammates make money, the more there is proof of concept. And proof of concept means that if they can make money, so can you. So that's the whole point, is don't be a hater. Don't get into the whole evil eye thing, whether it's negativity and psychology or you want to go into the spiritual aspect, don't do that. But it's all that whole thing of seeing it from that luck point of view. Oh, they're so lucky. They got my tour and now they got a sale. No, don't do that. Now, let's talk about the other stuff. So how about like Lucky Charms? And no, I'm not talking about the ice cream. Or the cereal. Sorry. Anyway, no, I'm not talking about the cereal. I mean, literally Lucky Charms. Now, like I said in one of my previous podcasts, most people will never admit to this, especially salespeople with the kind of egos that are out there. They don't want to admit something like this because for that's weakness. However, I would say 80, maybe even as high as 90% of the salespeople are very superstitious, and they're going to have a lucky coin or a lucky pen or a lucky tie or a lucky suit. And if you don't believe me, ask your best friends that are in sales. Don't ask somebody else that you're not tight with, because they won't admit it. But if you're tight, some will even say it sometimes. Oh, I got my lucky suit on today. I'm going to sell X amount. Oh, I got my lucky tie on today. I got my lucky coin. I got my lucky pen with me. And let's look at that from different angles. Let's start with the woo-woo. Let's start with the spiritual. Could there actually be a lucky pen or a lucky coin? Or absolutely. If you're looking at this from a spiritual angle, spirit is essence, right? And essences can be imbibed with things. If you're in a positive state of mind, you've got that positive energy around you. Everything that you touch brings in positivity. If it's negative, everything you touch brings in negativity. So if you were, for example, to prepare a coin, I'm just using that as an example, with that positive energy, and you whip that coin out and you put it in your pocket, now it's giving you that positive energy. Now, follow me here, even if you don't believe this, all right? Do you guys, I don't remember the name of that documentary. I think it was on Netflix. And it was talking about the tests they did with water, where people would give intent to that glass of water, and then they would put the water under the microscope, and you would see the different shapes that the water would take, whether it was hatred or love. It's 100% proven, guys. You can look it up. It's there. It's energy. It's real. So whether you're labeling it as spiritual or you're labeling it as energetic, I don't care. I'm just saying it's 100% possible. So if you have something that is positively charged, let's say, like a coin, maybe it was you prepared it yourself or somebody prepared it for you or whatever, and you carry it with you, maybe it was given to you by your grandmother. That's prepared. You know what I mean? That came from somebody who really loved you and wanted you to do well. Or whether it was something that you prayed or maybe, whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is that it works. Now, does it work because you believe it works, or does it work because it was quote unquote prepared? That's a great question. I would argue probably more the belief one than not, but that depends. If it was prepared by somebody who's really good at that kind of stuff, regardless of whether you believed in it or not, it's positively charged, right? I don't care if you believe it's positively charged or not, it's positively charged. That's kind of a pretty good thing. So spiritually and energetically, you can see how that would affect it. But we already talked about the power of belief. Even if it wasn't prepared, if you believe that that was your lucky tie, your lucky coin, your lucky pen, you're going to feel and act a certain way when you've got it on you, because you feel like you've got your lucky tie, your lucky pen, your lucky coin, your lucky suit, and it's going to happen. I'll give you guys an example, all right? One of the very first times that I wrote a very, very high ticket offer, I had just started in the business, and my first sale was like 120 grand, which was unbelievable to me at that moment. I had just kind of broken through to that. And that first sale kicked. Now, most people would have been devastated when something like that happens, because you know what it is to assume, oh my God, I'm going to make this huge commission check. I just sold. I've never sold that much in my whole life in less than 90 minutes. You know what I mean? And I was still elated, even when they canceled, because it was proof of concept for me. It proved that it could happen, that it was real. And, I had on a tie. I'll never forget. Matter of fact, I still have that tie. I don't wear it anymore because it's all messed up, but I still have it. I haven't thrown it away. And I really like that tie. It was a red paisley tie. I like paisley a lot, right? Anyway, so it was a red paisley tie. And I was like, man, I nailed it. The next time I wore that tie, which was a few days later, I sold exactly the same thing. Well, guess what? From that moment on, that became my lucky tie. Now, I wouldn't wear it every day because I didn't want to wear out whatever juju it had in my own brain, all right? I didn't want to wear out the juju. So I'd wear it once a week, and every time I wore it, boom, I'd get a sale. Boom. Now, I was getting sales anyway, but I mean, there was never a time when I would not get a sale if I wore that tie. And of course, I have a lot of ties. I have a lot of suits, right? So that wasn't the only time that I was getting sales. I'm just saying that every time I wore that tie, I absolutely got a sale. So now it's reinforced by everything else, by my past experience. So now my belief is that this happens, and every time that I wear the tie, there's more proof of that evidence. Now, the great thing about it was when I was having a negative streak where I wasn't getting sales in a while, I would immediately remember that. I would wear that tie, and bam, I'd break the negative streak. So you tell me, was that really a lucky tie or not? It was to me. Now, does it really matter if it was a lucky tie or not? Who cares? The point was that how I showed up was even greater than normal when I had that tie on. I used to have a lucky coin too, but I stopped the whole lucky coin thing because the lucky coins, usually they're silver dollars. I even had a gold dollar once. And I would fidget with them or hold them in my hand. Sometimes I'd lose them and then I'd be really pissed. So I stopped with the whole lucky coin thing. I have a lucky pen. It's not really a lucky pen. It's a Mont Blanc that I like a lot. So whenever I'm closing a big deal or I'm in front of someone who's very successful, I make sure to pull out that pen, because those people who are very successful, most of them have a pen like that, or at least they know what it is. They recognize, like recognizes like, and now that builds more rapport. That's really what it is. So in this case, it's not really a charm more than a prop. And I've talked about props before. This is a prop. This is a prop, right? It's things that could create a completely separate thread of conversation just by showing it. And if they catch on to that and you can go down that road, great. And if not, then you don't even mention it, but it's there. It's there to help you create more rapport. Anyway, whole other conversation that's been on other podcasts, but it was my lucky pen. We talked about lucky coins. How about lucky suits? Any of you had a lucky suit? Or any of you ladies out there have a lucky outfit? Listen, whether you feel like that is positively charged or not, or you just have the belief that when you wear that, you tend to be luckier than not, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're showing up differently when you're there, and that's helping you close more sales and do more things. Now, the bad side to that is when it's a crutch, and now you feel that only when you do those things, you're going to get a sale. So there is a negative side to that, right? You can't become dependent on those things, because in the end, it's all you anyway. But if you use it to break a negative cycle, where you're going on one of those negative tears, that's amazing. That's awesome. So you've got your trinkets, you've got your charms, your lucky coins, your lucky ties, your lucky suit. Guys, the only thing that matters is that you show up as your best self. And if it's with a lucky coin or a lucky suit or a lucky tie or a lucky pen, who the hell cares? You don't have to tell anybody. Nobody has to know that that's your lucky tie. Nobody has to know that's your lucky pen. That's just what you believe. And as long as when you believe it, it helps you go out there and get another sale, then what the hell? Why not? Guys, my name is Coach Ceelo, and I have helped thousands of other salespeople reach, break through, attain, and maintain six figures. You keep listening to me, you'll be the next.